It's Friday, Feedback Friday, the feedbackiest day of the week. It's Feedback Friday. And this Feedback Friday, I'm pre-recording again, partially because we had a provincial election yesterday, and unless I pre-recorded, I wouldn't be able to go vote, which maybe that would have been avoiding this time. But also I have not looked at the Batman comments, because that one I expect people are gonna have reactions to. And I want to stay positive this week because there was a lot of really good feedback, and I don't want predictable backlash to wreck that, because that's what it's designed to do. The knee-jerk backlash is people not wanting to consider a concept because it's too scary for them, and because it's too scary for them, no one else should do it either. And don't ask what's going on with my hair. It's my inner voice outside. Let me do the help support this channel, and then we'll get into it. Help support this channel, become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK, or buy a one-time Leanna Cares session for someone can use it but can't afford it, coffee.com/LeannaK. Both of these things are very helpful to supporting this channel and people like yourself. And one of the things that happens is the cool thing about what I do is there's a video, and then one-on-one clients can bring it up in session, and then people can talk about it on the Discord. We did have some Batman conversation. It was really, really productive on the Discord, right? We had a completely inconclusive discussion about where to start with Superman, because it was like some Grant Morrison stuff, and I said, no, never start with Morrison because they are super fanboy on a lot of psychedelics. So shouldn't say fanboy, fan kid. It's always an interpretation that expects you to already know it. And so we went with John Byrne. John Byrne's run on Birthright? One of those. But yeah, that is sort of, read that. It's pretty good. It feels a bit dated now, but DC Comics, man, killing me of late. And by of late, I mean like the last 10 years. I keep trying, but anyway, enough about me. A lot of people were like the inner child stuff, the childlike stuff. That spoke to me, that validated me. Please keep going. So awesome. Somebody else in a conversation tied in why I was like, I don't get why men don't identify with Daredevil and She-Hulk. And they said it's that thing, he said, it's that thing you said about men being given as, boys and young men, the message of this task is impossible. It is impossible to do this. Do it anyway. And so they connect to the guys making mistakes, it was interpreted as, and being mocked by the show for it, instead of what I took from it, which is these are like self-important shitbirds. No, it's not about mistakes. And the signifiers, like too much beard oil in certain ways the guys dress and things like that, that is lost on some people. And this is the problem with setting shows in a very Los Angeles bubble. The only place in the world where a woman who looks like Tatiana Maslany can get 0 matches on a dating profile, right? Yeah, I'm still researching that one to see if it's plausible, or they just pulled a Rick and Morty, did something super stupid for the purposes of advancing the plot, and possibly fell completely flat accordingly. But into the interesting stuff, a lot of people said, wow, this is like my childhood, which is always nice when guys can say that, because it does show that it is the socialization, it is how you were raised. It's nothing like boys are inherently this, like, no, it's boys have the hope beaten out of them in a different way. The girls have the hope beaten out of them by the time they're sometimes 10, 12, right? So, one person said that the system that I said about the hero works with other properties. They said Ninja Turtles. Ninja Turtles is fucking great for it, man. Go with Ninja Turtles. Like, it's anything. Your favorite manga? Well, okay. Maybe not Attack on Titan. Well, Armin. I have listened to Armin, okay? Because Armin is the small kid that people didn't listen to, and lives would have been freaking saved if they listened to Armin sooner. I love Armin. He is my favorite on Attack on Titan. He's one of the few people that had his shit together. Yeah, Armin is small, and that's one of the things I liked about Armin too. Armin is best boy. But yeah, like, it can work, right? As long as you're not using whatever property you are to sort of channel that inner hero, to excuse or avoid looking at bad habits, antisocial habits. And that's the thing about proper therapy, where I say proper because a lot of people go to therapy and they just get somebody going, that must have been hard. How did that make you feel for 45 minutes? And that, yeah, okay, you got to build up a rapport with somebody, but eventually the whole purpose is being challenged. And this is what I try to do in my content so people can scream and yell at me on the safety of the internet, right? But someone said, I really like the proposition of how would your hero treat a scared child? And then they quoted Kratos. You know you got me when you do that, because I freaking love Kratos. Reminds me of a similar one that I'll paraphrase by quoting Kratos. If anyone else disparage you as you disparage yourself, I would wish to strike them with an axe. And I actually said something similar to one of my clients this week. He said something very, very funny, but it was a crack at his own appearance. And I burst out laughing. I think this guy is an alright looking dude. But I said, I should give you shit for running yourself down. But the way you said it was so fucking funny. I just have to appreciate the joke. And he's like, everybody's got a talent. I'm like, okay, right. And I do think that there's a healthy place for being self-effacing without running yourself down, right? So if you make a joke about, like, I used to make jokes about my boobs all the time. I stopped doing it because people thought it was an invitation to go, hey, titties, which no, it was not. The whole purpose of it was, I know they are huge. They just grew this way. It's absurd. I'm going to laugh at it so I don't feel bad. And, people just, boobs, tits, just ruin that for me. And there is this thing about human dynamics where there aren't really right answers and wrong answers. Well, there are wrong answers, but there aren't right answers. It's better chances of success versus less good chances of success. Because we can have the best of intentions and not get the desired outcome, right? And a lot of people don't apply their standards to themselves, not deliberately. They just sort of sometimes need the contradiction pointed out to them, because we're all a mess of contradictions, right? We all are, and that's okay. That is, human. And we know that with boys, you need structure, consequence, but then reassurance or encouragement, right? And unfortunately, we know what works, but when people get into adulthood without that, they don't trust it at first. So I, have to explain to some people sometimes, like, look, that's not a bad guy. He needs some work, right? And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's always really sad when a guy I know is a good person just slips too far into the anti-woke. I'm not going to stop refusing to say offensive things. And that's why I distinguish between hurt and offense, right? Because I don't care if something offends someone. Whatever. Do your performative outrage somewhere else. A lot of what I do is comedy, or trying to make things entertaining. And sometimes people are going to get offended. There are things I find offensive and I sit with them and go, is this offensive because it's supposed to be, and therefore the work is doing it, functioning as intended, feature? Or is this just trying to put somebody down? And I do think that in this, it's for men, it's for women, this 4-quadrant bullshit. There's too much of, sacrifice this thing to get this audience, instead of let's figure out a way that's inclusive. And I know inclusive's a dirty word right now, but holy shit, no, inclusive is, I try to be inclusive, right? I don't assume, some guy could not possibly understand what I went through because I was assigned female at birth, but raised with blah, blah, blah. No, I was put through the same shit. Like, we can hang. We can go, yeah, that was 3rd grade. We can be cool, right? We can learn from each other. And that's all inclusion is, right? And I am hoping for James Gunn doing an inclusive Superman film. That, oh my God, I'm so stoked for that movie. It's not even funny. I could be setting myself for huge amounts of disappointment, but I am stoked for that film. I am stoked to play Assassin's Creed Shadows. By the way, apparently it's leaked, so you may want to not read news about that to avoid spoilers, or not click on or mute certain keywords. But I'm going to be playing that game. I'm going in, even though Veilguard was seen as a failure, I played that game and enjoyed it. It was another game, right? I only played Witcher 3 because it came free with a video card. And 2 was a hot mess to me. And so I'm like, fuck, I got it. And ended up loving it, right? And Inquisition was like, nope, I'm done with Dragon Age. And then somebody literally paid me to play Veilguard. And Manfred, I love that little skeleton fucker. And so it's like, all right, a little bit of faith and hope is restored, right? Not all AAA games are gonna be not for you, old lady. Okay, you're not allowed to play somebody Emmerich's age. That kind of sucked, but still, you know what I mean? And so I sort of understand what guys are going through regarding the rapid shifts in where the center is in gaming. And I do think that there was sort of cruelty as a feature, not a bug, regarding the change. And there's a difference between accepting bad behavior, because I understand how you feel, but I don't accept your behavior. And then there's understanding how you feel, right? Like, I've found the pivot. I mean, when Saints Row became Gen Z with anxiety conditions, I'm like, what the fuck is this? Where's the dildo bats? But I was like, well, okay, thank you, next. Ariana Grande, right? Thank you, next. Like, whatever. Thanks for the memories, Saints Row. Like, I love the Genki Bowl. Like, you're all awesome. Shondi has one of the best maturing arcs in gaming, but this ain't me anymore. Thank you, next. Right? Ariana. But I think this ties into another comment, and this is an utterly brilliant comment. And it's true. And it ties into the Yellow Jackets video. And the commenter said, there's a phenomenon in psychology called women are wonderful. It's the tendency for both men and women to have a more positive view of women. It's also called the morality advantage in politics. It's a double-edged sword. I like the women are wonderful terminology better. It's a tendency for both men and women to have a more positive view of women. A few years back, when there was a proposed female version of Lord of the Flies, you had Roxane Gay insisting that it would work because women would never behave like that. Hold that thought. I suspect that's part of the reason a lot of critics might have a problem with this show. Same reason there's only one female version of those Breaking Bad shows. Those shows are tragedies, and tragedies are driven by the moral flaws of the protagonist. Producers and audiences are reluctant to see heroines who ultimately fail because of their own flaws. And the fact that Roxane Gay was mentioned there, I stopped reading Roxane Gay because she low-key participated in a completely bullshit dogpile of me because I failed that moral purity test. I was the wrong kind of woman. And so I'm like, really, Roxane Gay? You participate in Lord of the Flies shit online, and you think women wouldn't behave like that? Oh, hell no. Like, see what I mean? If women don't recognize someone like Shauna, that woman is Shauna. Okay? And yeah, the women are wonderful thing is bullshit. And this goes all the way back to one of the things the first wave feminists at the Seneca Falls Convention asked for. And that was for women to be charged equally under the law when they commit crimes with men. Because that back then, there was seen as a lesser moral culpability. Well, he must have threatened her or forced her into it somehow. And the women of the Seneca Falls Convention were like, no, we're whole people. We are equally responsible. Society doesn't want that yet. Society wants to put women up on these bullshit angelic pedestals going, oh no, you are an angel. I was like, look, Mr. Bubbles, an angel. Like everybody's a fucking little sister from BioShock going, sticking needles in each other, right? Like, no, women do not have some inherent moral superiority. Women are just punished for being direct as children. Trust me. Because, oh shit, I took my years of boys socialization and then had to go to middle school and high school. When you can hang with boys, it's fine. It all works out. Like, sup, we know what's going on. When you suddenly are forced to, you're gender segregated into girl groups because that is normal and safer. Holy shit. That is heinous. And any woman who's like, oh no, women would never, oh, please. That is just bullshit. That is convenient bullshit. That is Shauna level bullshit. That's when Melanie Linsky puts on that little baby voice like, oh no, I may have just murdered someone in their own home, but I didn't mean to. I had to. Right? It's, yeah. But I do think there's a combination of things. First of all, that has to stop because that's why female politicians have a rougher go of it the minute you get a record, right? The minute a woman does one thing that you don't agree with. Somebody in the comments says, I won't watch anything with Christina Ricci in it because she vocally supported Amber Heard. If you didn't watch the trial and you just read press, or somebody who was an Amber Heard supporter told you what's going on, yeah, you would have thought she was fucking railroaded by the system. Like, that is not fair. Just because somebody did not have the privilege to the complete information that you did is not a reason to hate them. Is not a reason to boycott everything they do. Because if you are holding other people to those rules, be prepared to be held to your own standards. So if you do one thing wrong, one thing that the other person disagrees, they can erase you from your life, from their life. Are you prepared to be held to that? If you are, okay, cool, good luck to you. But if you aren't, reconsider your harsh judgment. You know, I was just saying to somebody earlier this week, I don't hold anything somebody puts on social media against a lifespan of 6 months, right? 6 months, I assume they probably regret saying that, right? So a 10-year-old tweet, I do not fucking care. I don't care. You know, the same way I don't care Ariana Grande acted like a brat years ago. She was awesome in Wicked, right? People grow up. Okay, people mature. They may not necessarily change who they are at the core of their being, but people can get better. They can be better versions of themselves, right? And I do believe we have to have that. There has to be an off-ramp to, you are excommunicated forever, right? And I personally find, like, Better Call Saul greater than Breaking Bad for me. Just because, you know, at the end, there is sort of a moral saving of Jimmy McGill. Not Saul Goodman, because Saul Goodman's a construct. But there is sort of, he eventually breaks good in a small way, right? It's a very nuanced show. Still has the goddamn Vince Gilligan pacing problems. Holy fuck. Too many shots of skies, but great cast and less nihilistic than Breaking Bad was. But, yeah. Some women are wonderful most of the time. Some men are wonderful. Bobby Calloway is a wonderful, wonderful man. There are a lot of guys. I won't name names. He's a YouTuber, so I can say Bobby Calloway is wonderful. But there are certain guys, it's like, I would spill blood for you, brother, right? Like, they are good people. I will go to war, you know? And there are some women that's true of as well. You know, I'm one of those people that you're in. I don't trust people quickly or easily. But if I get a sense that you're a good person who is trying, okay, I will throw down for you, you know? But someone comes to me and starts demanding on, oh, you're this and we are the same identity category, and if you don't agree with me on this, you're a bad person. Nah, fuck off. I stopped caring whether people think I'm a bad person a long time ago. Like, we're not even we're talking about when I wrote a review of Halo 3. Okay. And people are like, you don't know anything. You're not a gamer. You're just a fucking girl. Fuck you. 10 out of 10. Fuck you. I gave it an 8. And people like just abuse. It was even before that when I wrote criticisms of World of Warcraft about there being no noob zone and there was too much potential for abuse of new players and other RPGs like MMORPGs like Age of Conan or the Warhammer RPG. That Warhammer RPG was a good fucking RPG. It was just an MMORPG. It just market saturation. It was a good MMORPG. It was actually my favorite of them at the time. You ganked, you turned into a chicken with 1 hit point. That was fucking badass. And it was that sort of thing. Like, look, just because you're the most popular doesn't mean you can't improve. I got blacklisted by Blizzard. Fucking people were like, fuck you. And I'm like, I'm still right. You can character assassinate me all you want. None of you are dealing with me on points. That's womaning wrong, but it's journalisting right. Right? I was doing my fucking job. And unfortunately, in too many jobs like that, doing your job means violating gender norms. You can figure out which one I picked, right? Similarly, I tried to understand what the Gamergaters were going through. And frankly, I think that if we had done that better, we wouldn't be having a lot of these culture war problems. If we had done look, I understand you have some valid concerns here. You gotta stop the bad behavior. And then people would say, well, it's not us. And I looked and yeah, it wasn't all of them. There were people going, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it. The assholes wouldn't listen. And if we just gone, all right, y'all that don't support the doxing and you don't support the harassing, if you just have a serious concern about this, we can come over and we can talk. It's about your behavior, not your opinions, right? The rest of you, fuck right off, right? If we had just done that, I think a lot of things would be a lot better, both in the industry and with wider culture, because we would have figured out how to counter those tactics a lot better, right? Because people just get scared and then they panic and then they start attacking the people instead of the behavior, and then it's a race to the bottom, right? And it is a lot of the women are wonderful thing. Oh, a woman who was harassed. Well, nobody should be harassed. And I got so sick of male journalists during that period of time telling me that I should be more bothered by it. And it's like, look, when you guys admit that you yourselves are cracking under the shit that you are experiencing, when you as men say, this bothers me too, instead of projecting and transferring onto me and telling me that I should be a victim so you can write fucking op-eds and look like a tough guy, well, then we can talk about maybe I should be more worried. But until then, do not speak for me. I want to talk to these guys. I'm used to this. This has been happening to me. It is actually, Gamergate was actually still better than the treatment I got when I started as a games journalist. And I mean, I tried to contact the Witcher dev team. I tried to contact CDPR about some of the issues with women in The Witcher 2, right? And their publicist blocked me. I said, I just want to ask a couple questions about it. Well, we think our characters are strong. And I said, well, that's the problem. You created strong female characters in that game, and then you didn't let them fight their own fights. You made men do it for them, and they just suffer this narrative death. Well, we think it's fine. Wouldn't have the conversation, right? And that's the right answer, because if you shut down criticism, then you're not a Ubisoft. Right? Ubisoft's biggest problem is they were like, well, we listen to criticism. What everybody said they wanted, but it actually isn't true. What people want is a strong person to line up behind who goes, fuck you, at criticism for people that were never going to buy their game anyway. Right? The problem is you can't do that as a woman and not get labeled a bitch. And therefore, if you're a bitch, but you're good looking, well, okay, then I can fix her. But if you're a bitch and average looking, well, then you're just a bitch and you violate the women are wonderful standard, right? Because you either have to be that thing someone can rescue, and I'm talking left-wing men on this, oh, Lord. I get it from fucking everywhere. I don't want to be an extension of one of the good guys' ego And then, oh no, I'm going to fuck her up. I'm going to fuck her career up because she didn't let me be big man. And they'll never admit it to themselves. So they just keep doing it. And that's frankly the reason there aren't more women in these roles, right? When you eat the shit that, say, a Jason Schreier does, every guy in the place freaked out, which is why there is no woman that the industry comes to for big stories. They want to protect you. They don't want to treat you as an equal. And because they won't treat you as an equal, they won't give you funding because they don't think you can handle it. That's the double-edged sword. Women are wonderful, but we must protect. And because they're wonderful, well, women can't make the hard decisions. Women can't fire people. They'll feel bad. Women can't make the tough calls. They'll feel bad. Women can't stand up to an angry mob saying, you're a piece of shit because you made a game like this. Bullshit, we can. We're not given the chance. We're not given the support. And that's the flip side of the women are wonderful problem. And when guys say society prefers women, they are falling into that women are wonderful trap. And it's not true. Society prefers people who stay in their lane. So if you appeal to the ideal, or some would say the stereotype, well, then you're rewarded. You know? If you don't, well, then you're punished. So society picks winners and losers about what skills and abilities and personality types they're going to reward in men and women, and then people who don't really fit in either category. And that's the real problem. It's not men, it's not women. All this bullshit, patriarchy, society prefers women, gynophilia, like all this shit. It's just divide and conquer. It's weakening us because we can't get the numbers to talk and come to an inclusive solution where nobody feels like they have to just, oh no, you don't get to matter now. Let the people who matter matter. And that's where we need to get. That's the thing that's really going to help everybody. Instead of this race to the bottom based on, I'm only going to support people like me, whether that's ideology or some sort of identity category. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron, patreon.com/Leanna K, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it, coffee.com/Leanna K. If you want to support my work, there are tons of ways to do it. I would greatly appreciate you supporting my work. Thanks very much, and have a great weekend.